Ding, ding. Oh, we do love it when the bell decides to give us just a little tidbit of information. And I was kind of hoping it was going to be about a certain little Hungarian. And not only that, but the end of the international break has given us a golden egg as Danny Ceballos seemingly confirms the story that David Ornstein posted about a possible punch-up on the Arsenal training ground between him and David Luiz is indeed fake news. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, show in which we break down the latest Arsenal news and get your thoughts in our live chat. And yeah, Danny Ceballos, this is where we're going to start today's show, is talking about Danny Ceballos and David Luiz in a training ground fracas. If it is believed to be true. This is the tweet. David Ornstein, exclusive. Tensions boiled over in Arsenal training Friday as Luiz hit Ceballos on the nose with a scratch, drawing blood. I mean, have you ever described... I mean, David, if you ever are planning into going into live text commentary of, say, the UFC or boxing, I think I wouldn't give up your day job, mate, because as that goes, that's fairly pathetic. When the squad returned Tuesday, both apologised and the group have continued as normal. Arsenal will hope the fighting spirit is channeled positively. To which Danny Ceballos, as you can see, has then replied saying fake. And then to which William, speaking on behalf of the entire Arsenal fan base, has said that he wants proof that it's fake. He wants proof. It is not good enough. Ceballos' word is not good enough to him. He wants a picture of his face with today's newspaper because, you know, that's how we speak to the Arsenal players. What do I think about this? Well, if it's true, I don't see anything wrong with it really, because this stuff happens in football all the time. Players get heated, training gets heated. And yeah, it's just not really something that I think Arsenal fans need to be too concerned if it is the case. Obviously, if it boils over to the point where people are punching each other, maybe that's a little bit over the top. But yeah, I just don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest. If you speak to plenty of ex-pros and current pros, they'll tell you that these types of clashes go on in training, and we've seen Ceballos is a little bit fiery. We saw his square out of Eddie and Nketiah before the Fulham game, I believe it was. So yeah, I wouldn't really draw too many of this. Now, whether or not this is true obviously comes down to be honest, I look at David Ornstein as a very reliable source of information on Twitter. I know that a lot of people doubt that, whether it's true or not. But just because Danny Ceballos says that it's fake doesn't necessarily mean that it is, because they want to keep this under wraps as much as possible. It's not something they'd want to go out in the public domain. And that obviously means that ultimately that he could be lying. Just by saying it's fake doesn't mean that it necessarily is. You know how things go in the modern era of trying to keep things under wraps. But yeah, I don't think it's a problem at all. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying in the chat box. Freddie McNay, hit with a scratch. I mean, if it was a punch from Luiz, again, similar to David Ornstein's possible change of career into UFC text commentary, I wouldn't give up your day job, David. I really wouldn't. I don't think if you're punching and just leaving a scratch, I wouldn't go any further with that type of career after your football one ends. That's for sure. Alex McCarthy says, I'm calling it right now, either Ceballos or Luiz to score against Leeds and they'll embrace in front of the camera, usually how it ends. Or what would be better is if one of them scores, the other one should go up and do the old Rooney punch in the corner flag celebration and then fall back knocked out. That could be quite funny. But yes, I love your ingenuity there, Alex. Daniel Roberts says, I heard it's because they were fighting about Arteta's decision not to play Aubameyang through the middle. Yep, that's definitely something I could see people arguing on Twitter, physically abusing each other. Aubameyang could play through the middle, so it could be down to that. Freddie McNay says, I have no problems whatsoever if this is true, especially with Danny saying it is fake. So there you go. Pud says, anyone else thinking it may be a planted rumour to smoke out the leaker? Oh, who knows? That's an interesting one, isn't it? If they're trying to get a ruse going on, trying to find out who's leaking information in the club. That could be an interesting one, Puds, for sure. Iron Cub says they were fighting over who gets to sit next to Szoboszlai on the bus from January onwards. See, these are great. Keep these coming. If you're watching on playback, feel free to leave your comedic reasons as to what. I don't know why I said comedic, because obviously these are the true reasons. But if you want to offer up your suggestion as to why David Luiz and Ceballos possibly could have been fighting, then feel free to leave that in the comments section below. So yeah, I wouldn't read too much into this. So that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to talk about. It's not something that we have to go too in depth about, to be honest, because it's nothing. It's a nothing thing. The other thing is El Neni's positive coronavirus test. But I think it's important that we cover it in today's show as well. So it's annoying because I think that obviously he'd come back with quite good form. He didn't play very well against Aston Villa, it's fair to say, and I don't think that there would have been too much issue. And ironically, Ceballos, the guy that we were talking about, is probably going to be that guy that is going to step in to El Neni's position and play against Leeds next to Partey, should the Ghanaian, fingers crossed, it sounds like he will be. But he'll be fit. We'll find out tomorrow in Arteta's press conference. So Ekene says, I'm sure that it's Ozil that leaks it. Ozil, why would you do that? You know what he's like on the socials right now, tapping away, just getting on with that. Could be Ozil. But yeah, Ceballos coming in, I think, is fine. I like his tenacity. I like the way he tries to make things happen. And I think we need that little bit of incisiveness in the middle and the passing and the play that he tries to get the ball moving a lot more. And I think I'd rather him coming in than Xhaka right now, to be honest. I think that he provides enough defensively alongside Partey as well, that it kind of means that we don't need to delve too far into going back into Xhaka territory, to be honest. But we'll talk more about that on Saturday's preview show for the Leeds game. I'm going to try and get a guest on if I can. We'll see what happens. The F4 freestylers say, I don't believe they had a fight, to be honest. For Szoboszlai, really hope that it happens. And let's get on to that. Before we do, though, if you could go into the description of the video and click the link to the 101 website. Today, I have done an exclusive interview with 101, talking to, I know it's not Arsenal related, but it's me related, so I want to share it with you, with Wolves' young Canadian starlet, Theo, and he's just a really great guy. It's just someone that I've really been interested in looking at, and like, his name's Theo Corbiano, and he's someone that's come over from Canada, and it's a completely different environment for him. He has played in the Romanian youth team and has now decided to switch allegiances to Canada, because that's where he grew up, even though he has Romanian parents. And learning about how like a tall physical striker can be a technical player on the wing in the wide areas and can take on players and beat them. It's a really interesting read. So if you want to check that out, link is in the description to 101, and then you'll be able to find the interview on the website. Anyway, the big news to talk about on TGT is that I've purchased Szoboszlai on FIFA. No, that's not the big news. The big news is that the Bell, the ever-trusting source of pure, intelligent and honest information on the Arsenal Twitter sphere, has revealed that Arsenal are indeed very interested in Dominik Szoboszlai and have entered discussions with Red Bull Salzburg about a possible transfer. I have longed, not just, and I know that you guys are well aware, and for the amount of people that tweeted me when the news dropped yesterday, because people know that on Wednesdays I can't produce a show in the afternoons because I'm working on 101 till very late in the evening, and to see so many people tweet me, it was quite humbling. It's quite nice that you understand how much I am infatuated by this this guy. So the fact that you guys were backing me on that, fair play to you. But it's also the fact that I've wanted Arsenal to kind of utilise the Austrian market for a long time. Arsenal have really kind of been on the back burner regarding talent from Red Bull Salzburg and from other parts of Austria too. And we've kind of really not taken the best, I feel, from that league when there's been opportunities. And I think there's players beyond just Szoboszlai that Arsenal could look at bringing in the near future. We've missed out on the likes of Dale and Meccano. We've missed out on Naby Keita, etc., when we were previously linked to them, when they were still at Red Bull Salzburg. So I would like to see Arsenal really push the boat out now and really think that, yeah, look, this is clearly a trend. The players that are leaving this club are going on to doing excellent things. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Arsenal can do something with this deal. Tom's stance on AFC Bell is legendary. It is. And who can blame me for doubting the guy previously? The only thing that he'd ever got right, I believe, was the Mustafi thing. And to be honest, before this season, I never even knew he existed. And I'm so glad that I do now. And yeah, fair play. Fair play to him for getting stuff right. Clearly, he has contacts, whoever he or she is. We don't know. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Now, what I will say is that just because it has been mentioned by the Bell doesn't mean anything's confirmed, and especially considering the context of the tweet in which he put out about it obviously being Arsenal are in early discussions. Nothing is advanced at this stage, but fingers crossed. Hopefully Arsenal, God willing, can get something done. Akene says, Tom, I've been wanting to ask you if you can start interviewing young guns so that we can know more about them. I mean, it is a case of Akene of getting in touch with them and then being up for it, but I can certainly try my best. So I will get on that Akene as much as possible. David says that Ceballos and Davies were fighting because they wanted to be the new Gunnosaurus. Alfie Nelson says, if we get him in January, do you think he will be enough to get Champions League? It's a good question. My answer to the question in the short term is it depends where we are at Christmas, Alfie. Ask me again, one, if it happens, and two, after we've seen where we're at in January. If we're at where we're at right now, in the bottom half of the table, then no chance. But if we put ourselves in contention and we're still pushing for Champions League spots and we get a few string of wins together and we can say beat Spurs and beat Chelsea and get some really important victories, then yes, there is a chance within striking distance, because he is, in my opinion, someone that could come in, score a hell of a lot of goals, provide a lot more assists for the club as well. His creative and goal scoring streak for Salzburg is crazy. It's a joke. It's ridiculously good. And in the Champions League this season, 3 games, 2 goals. So just 2 goals. So it's certainly something that I think would change Arsenal's fortunes for the long term as well. These guys are 20 years old at the end of the day. I'm not expecting him to come in and be amazing from the off. I think he could be. But for the long term, it's a really good investment, I feel, on a player that's really well liked throughout plenty of clubs across Europe. Chris says, I'm pretty sure the links to Szoboszlai are fake news. If you follow the source, it's all just started by me. To me, I did a show, not even the last summer window, doing a tactical breakdown. When I first started doing the tactical breakdowns videos, which was in the start of, say, it was like May in 2019, we did a show on Szoboszlai. Like, we did a very rudimentary tactical breakdown where we looked at some of the graphics, we looked at the stats, and we looked into him. There was no expert insight back then. I don't believe there was anyway. So if you want to watch the one that I did back in 2019 when I was kind of unknown about who he was, I've heard of him from just within the Red Bull Salzburg, like from being there, but I'd never really taken too much interest in him at that point. So that's where it began, and now look at this, over a year later, and it's crazy to think we're now linked to him. Juan Felipe Palacio Rivera, please never change your name, because I like just pronouncing it, probably wrong, but I like pronouncing it every time. Is it really impossible to buy him in January? Know that we can get him something for Matteo Guendouzi and possible Lucas Torreira. I think if Arsenal, whilst my instinct is to say no, I don't think that Arsenal are going to spend too much money, if any, in the January window unless people leave. I have a feeling also that if the deal is there to be done, with what happened with Partey, Arteta will be backed by the ownership. I might be naive. I might be just based off purely what happened with Partey. But there's 2 deals now in Partey and Pepe that we have been backed in, and when the club thought it was the right thing to do in getting those players. So I'm really hoping that if it is the case that we can get him, that the club will go all out and will sign him for his release clause. So fingers crossed that's the case. Easy Isle, Ed, thank you for being in the chat, mate. Always a pleasure. It says such a low release clause. It's not just it's not just us who would be interested. We need a Raul envelope handshake to get it done. I don't know what that is, Ed. That sounds a little bit dark. I don't know what a Raul handshake might encompass, but it can't be something clean, can it? Freddie McNay says, where will Szoboszlai play for us? There's a couple of options. Freddie, he could play in behind the striker as kind of a second striker. He could play as a number 8 alongside Partey if someone was in behind, say a Lucas Torreira next season. I'm actually really interested to see a possible combination of Torreira and Partey next season when the Uruguayan returns, if he wants to continue on and if Arsenal want to keep him at the club. If he's had a good season at Atletico, we've got all the cards are in our hand. The ball is on our court. I can use all the analogies in the world to describe this. But Torreira has no option to buy for Atleti, and if they want him, they have to negotiate a fee with us. And if we want to keep him, we can keep him. And I would be interested to see a dynamic with Partey and Szoboszlai, enabling Saka to become part of the front three. And if you've watched Saka for England, this kid's special. Like, I'm more excited about him than Szoboszlai. Like, I'm being serious. We can rave all day long about Szoboszlai, but Saka is our boy. We've got him at the club already, and I'm buzzing about the fact that we've got this young kid coming through and that he's at 18 years of age. He's already getting into the England squad and pulling up trees like he is. Unbelievable stuff. Iron Cub says for 25 million as well, normally we'd wait about 2 years and then we'd have to offer 60 million. Exactly. Iron Cub says, considering the clause is only 25 million, maybe they'd accept more money, but in instalments. I think they were willing to accept the release clause in instalments, Iron. So I'm not 100% sure if that's feasible, but still. I think it's a case of Arsenal are so financially strapped that they would just wait. They would just get the back in. That even in instalments, it would be tricky. So that's the situation that we've got right now. F4 Freestyler says, do you see Arsenal signing both Aouar and Szoboszlai, one in January and one in the summer? Good question. I think that there's potential. As I say, if the club back the coach this January to get, say, Szoboszlai in, then in the summer, once Ozil, Mustafi, etc., all of their wages are off the wage bill, then I think that we've got a big opportunity to really go hard and bring in a really quality player alongside the players that we've already got at the club. Christopher Fung says, has Kondogbia affected Torreira's playing time at... You've been listening too much to good old Mikey boy and Mike Hernandez. You've been listening to too much of those guys. I haven't actually tuned in since... Kondogbia really signed. Let's have a look at Torreira's playtime at Leti this season. So he's played 4 games. He's scored as well, which is quite cool. I haven't actually seen the goal yet, but he scored against Osasuna. He's played last 2 games. He came on as a substitute. Oh, I have seen his goal. I definitely have seen his goal. Yeah, he started against Celta Vigo, 90 minutes. He started, I think, against Real Betis, played 45 minutes. Let's check if he did actually start that game. He then came on against Osasuna and scored with 5 minutes to go. And then he played the last 28 minutes against Cadiz in a 4-0 win. The thing is, like, if we look at the 4-0 win against Cadiz and we look at their lineup, they played with Hector Herrera and Koke. And then they played a really weird back 3 with Sal playing kind of this left-hand side role, Trippier on the right, and then João Felix, Marcus Llorente and Suarez up top. So it's interesting to see kind of the different combinations of which they are playing. If we have a look at their last recent Champions League game, he started that game in the Champions League playing... did he start? Or did he come on really early on? I think he came on really early on. Champions League. Yeah, he came on... Oh, he only played 12 minutes, so I'm just reading this wrong. 12 minutes, 8 minutes and 11 minutes in the Champions League. So he's not playing too much, to be honest. So, yeah. I think that I think he'll come back, and I think he'll probably either stay or we'll sell him. I don't think he'll go off to Atleti again. But it could change. Things can change very, very quickly in this business. And Martinelli's back in full training, says Daniel, which is fantastic news. Top Techers. If I'm right, Top Techers, you are the guy that's obviously been on Your Feed. If you don't know about Your Feed, guys, it's a brand new app. Make sure you go onto the channel and check out the video that we did on it. And Top Techers has been getting involved. He's been replying to some of the feeds, which is great. And you can reply to myself and some of the other guys on there, posting topics about Arsenal every single day. So it's a really good... At the moment, I think it's just UK and other territories, maybe America. I'm not 100% sure, so you'd have to check it out. But the link is in the description of the video that we did with Gareth Ingham, who's the founder of Your Feed. So check that one out. But Top Techer says, Atleti probably won't want to negotiate with us after we failed to notify them about the activation of the release clause for Partey while we were in talks with them and Torreira, and he says that he is a fan of Szoboszlai. Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't think Atletico are our biggest fans. To be honest, I really don't think they're our biggest fans whatsoever. Chris says, how long will it take for Szoboszlai to settle into the Prem? I mean, Chris, at the end of the day, your guess is as good as mine. What's good about him is that he's a physical player. He's tall. He's over 6 foot. And that will obviously help with transition. If you're a smaller, more technical player, it can take a lot longer. But already having that physicality and playing well on the international stage as well, you have to say, is definitely a plus. Is definitely a plus. Yes, Top, it is. Thank you for tuning in, mate. Alex McCuffey says, any news talking about the Nigerian Kalu on a possible stake being bought? I don't know anything about that, Alex. Please DM me or put it in the Discord. Been pretty off the map the last couple of days with 101. So, yeah, I haven't got a clue. Send me their link. Maybe we'll get another tactical breakdown going on him for sure. That's going to wrap up today's show, guys. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. If you could drop a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. Tomorrow, we've got 2 shows. We've got a podcast with Lee Judges, kind of looking at how the state of the play is at the moment of Arsenal, looking ahead to the weekend's fixtures as well. And also, I've got another Szoboszlai video coming up, talking to Tom Midler, who is the host of the Other Bundesliga podcast. So we're going to get Tom on and we're going to have a chat. He's, as far as I'm aware, he's English and he's living in Austria and he's a journalist out there. So he is going to be all in the know about the Hungarians. So the questions about how do we think he could transition into the Premier League? What is he like? What is his style? Even though I know quite a lot, but it's good to get that other perspective and get a genuine journalist from Austria's thoughts on things. So, make sure you tune in tomorrow for those 2 shows with Lee Judges and Tom. But it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys, as it always is. And as always, up the Arsenal.